I'm sure. I'm sure Jean has articulated what many people in the room and the background as well that you've come from, and those shared beliefs, if you like, that some people will want to call British values, but we were certainly brought up with them. It's an interesting point what you make about tribalism and the Labour Party. I crossed the bridge toward independence over 20 years ago now, and my husband's here tonight will tell you we had a conversation with a senior figure in the Labour movement. And it was before the sort of double doomsday scenario was happening that Scotland would feel really disenfranchised, and before the real campaign for devolution. And he asked the question of this senior Labour figure, are you telling me that Scotland will be sacrificed for the sake of the British Labour Party? And the answer was yes. And that was when it was cheerio for me, and I'll be looking for another set or somewhere else to put these beliefs. I think we also have to be aware within this campaign that the people with a vested interest, that there are a third of Scots definitely going to vote no. Many people I know who are generally wealthy. And I can look at their point of view and say, if you've got, if you are a retired accountant or doctor living in Bearsden or whatever, and you've got the nice house and the mortgage is paid off and you drive a nice car and your kids went to the right private schools and you've got a good pension and your life is lovely. You don't really see any deprivation around about you and you jet off to your wee holiday home in Mallorca. Why would you want to change? Because it's worked out all right for you. But the thing we have to appeal to all of these people is to say to them, your common humanity should see that quarter mile down the road from you, there are people living in abject poverty and misery. And that cannot be you can't follow that if you are at all someone who sees yourself as a giving person, as someone who lives amongst your fellow countrymen and women. And it is those people as well that we have to try and convince to say there is more to life than just your own little bit. But with Thatcherism to thank for that, and that march all the way through Scotland where it only matters what is going on here, and that disconnect that Jean has talked about that occurred, that those who had and those who did not have anything there. And I did one of these Radio 5 live debates not that long ago, and I was totally moved by a guy from the East End who stood up and said he had walked into the fruit market that day. He was appalled at the level of debate that was being put out on television and everywhere. He had never been a nationalist in his life. He was a lifelong socialist. And he had walked through the East End that day. And he said, I'm walking through places you people in this room have never even seen. And he says, I'm campaigning, and I'm out there campaigning for a yes vote. And he said, and let me tell you and let me warn you, see in Barrafield, there's not a no vote. Because the poor are looking at this and seeing what the opportunity is. And it is for us in this campaign to ensure that they are registered to vote and that we get that vote out here. The way they did it with Obama and the Democrats, we have to make sure that happens. We now move on to another guy I've been round the block with a few times over the years, who edits Scottish Left Review, amazing campaigner, trade unionist. Please put your hands together for Bob Thomson. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Elaine. Well, everyone, are we all happy? Yeah. Because, better things are coming. Happy days are here. If you look at the announcements yesterday, unemployment down, productivity up, things can only get better, according to the coalition and their unquestioning friends in the media. Well, what's the reality? What's the reality for people in this room? Just a personal experience. My nephew got offered a job this week. He's worked in the building industry since he left school. No apprenticeships, because remember, apprenticeships dried up. Back in the 60s. That's exactly. And when he became unemployed, he asked about getting some training in building, joinery, bricking, what have you. Told he's over 30, no training available. He's now outsourced finding jobs, and as this company gets paid big money to fail in this. I don't know if you noticed last year, there were one of them where it turned out the chief executive and owner had paid herself £4.5 million in 1 year, and that was for failing to deliver on targets. Anyway, he goes up, travels 30 miles, the interview's been cancelled. So he goes this week for this job, he's looking forward to a job, it's putting up fencing. It turns out it's self-employed. £6.50 an hour. He's got to provide no outdoor clothing, no protective clothing, what have you, no guaranteed hours. The other thing here is, of course, that it's not really self-employment, this is bogus. And what it really means here is the Department of Work and Pensions is in telling people they've got to go to work for these companies who are in fact having a tax dodge because they're not paying employers' national insurance. And I sat in industrial tribunals for years, and we all know that it's a matter of control, that it's not really self-employment. But this is what is happening. And we all know, every one of us have been here in that situation. We know friends who are there, relatives, family. 0-hour contracts, part-time work when you're looking for full-time work. And I should add, by the way, this nephew, he's in a council house. He's in the smallest council house that the council built with 2 bedrooms. He's also losing £14 a week in housing benefit because of the bedroom tax. That's where we are just now. Now, a lead writer in the Daily Telegraph, no lefty, said the present upturn is driven almost entirely by private consumption and housing investment. That is, people spending their savings, not saving, taking equity out of their homes for another housing bubble. In a paper for the Jimmy Reid Foundation, Jim Cuthbert, a former chief statistician at the Scottish office, sums up the UK economy as a basket case, which has been continuous decline since the 1970s. He states that continuing with this status quo is the biggest threat to Scotland's well-being. But what is better together in the Unionist Party is offering? I mentioned that the Jimmy Reid Foundation paper. Now, the foundation was set up 2 years ago. Jimmy was the driving force in setting up Scottish Left Review magazine. He also argued for many years for the need for a left think tank in Scotland to give the left detailed research, evidence-backed information to counter the propaganda, the pseudo-organisations financed by big business. Left Review established the foundation after Jimmy died, and it's been called after him. The foundation is not connected to any political party or cause, but espouses evidence-based progressive policies. The foundation has been very gratified by the number of leading academics, thinkers, trade unionists, artists who have freely contributed papers and ideas, supported by contributions and comments by ordinary people on our website. These papers cover a wide range and many facets of life in Scotland. Putting them all together gives a practical vision of policies to create a better, fairer country. So, because of that, we decided to put all these papers together, and we've called it the Commonweal. Now, Commonweal is an old Scottish phrase meaning wealth shared in common and for the well-being of all. And it describes a society that rejects 40 years of grasping me-first politics, the survival of the richest, winner-takes-all mentality, which has left us all in second place. The Commonweal future is one which politics put all of us first. It seeks to get us working together for the benefit of each other, not working against each other for the benefit of a few. It is politics which believes that to build more, we must share more. That if wealth and resources are hoarded by a few, it stifles creativity and investment. It is politics that celebrates and strengthens our welfare state and believes government should reflect the will of the people, not the will of the money markets. And in a lot of cases, we do take as examples some of the things that have happened in the Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, etc. Now, all of these papers are available on our associated websites. We've got a stall outside where you actually can get some details of the many, many policies which we have and a whole range of things which Alan has mentioned, Jean has mentioned, and Elaine has mentioned. The whole gambit, the type of country that we want to create. Now, all of these policies could be implemented, at least in part, now or with Devo Max. But clearly, the independence option gives the best option, especially since the unionist parties are effectively only offering, again, the status quo. So, comrades, we have a blueprint for a better future, an alternative to the neoliberal economic policies which have given us the biggest recession in living memory. What future are the parties in the referendum giving us? Better together. And I always wonder about better together here. They paint all this fear, this picture of Scotland, you know, as I say, being a economy, not able to stand on myself, all these issues. If Scotland's position is so bad, why the hell do they want to keep us in? I mean, that's the obvious question, isn't it? And, you know, I mean, you know, they've got Alistair Darling leading it. Now, I mean, Jean was given some of her background. I mean, Alistair has an interesting background because I can remember him long-haired, bearded, sandaled as a councillor in Edinburgh. But no. What do we have? We've got a person who was Chief Secretary of the Treasury and then Chancellor leading up to the biggest recession in history. And he's supposed to be advising us and telling us, you know, it takes some brass neck. But he has a brass neck because if you look at the House of Commons registry interests, last year he got paid £170,000 for speaking at meetings. Now, surprise, surprise, it was all the banks and finance committees. Yes. Why? Because it's this elite situation. The Tony Blairs, the Alistair Darlings, the Lord Reid de Cardowan all know that there's no anything as obvious as money in brown paper bags, but they know that once, if they play the game with big business, they will be rewarded. And that's what happens. So why should we be taking Alistair Darling's advice? Now we come to the Labour Party, and I've got my Labour Party card here. 51 years, it's a long time. So if I'd committed murder, I'd have been out by now. With remission. And it says in the back, the Labour Party is a democratic socialist party. It believes by the strength of our common endeavour, we can achieve more than we achieve alone. The old clause 4. But, of course, I mean, it's not what, you know, it says Labour Party, and you'd think that's what should be on the tin. Labour, you know, that's what the name names, looking after working people. Of course, New Labour has changed all that. In fact, Jimmy Reid used to always call New Labour non-Labour, which I thought was very succinct there. So it has lost its way, very much lost its way. But there are still people in the Labour Party like Alan, coming from that tradition, who want to see changes. And they're not a minority. The reality here is that the leadership is trying to dampen it down, but there's a great many Labour Party members, and especially Labour Party supporters, especially supporters, Elaine, who are open to hear arguments. And I think that's very, very important. And the Labour Party isn't allowing a debate. I mean, if you try to put in a motion or anything about challenging this, it would disappear. So that's the situation that we're in. We know where we stand with the Tories, no change. The Liberals, they've sold out all their policies. But worryingly, Labour is now talking about the possibility of a coalition with them if they don't get an overall majority next year at the general election. That'd be out the frying pan into the fire. But again, we have to now look at the position of the SNP. And this is why it is important that we know that we are supporting an idea and not a particular political party. Elaine, you mentioned that Jim Sowers' new book is getting published this week, In Place of Fear 2, which is on the original book by an Aaron Bevan about founding the National Health Service. And he's very critical of his former colleagues in the SNP. And he's saying there that this white paper is really talking about a mini UK. That's what it's arguing. Keep the pound, keep the Queen, keep NATO with nuclear weapons, because that's the reality if you keep NATO. So we are there. Now, the reality here is that the SNP's social policies have been to the left of the Labour Party. Having said that, they are both centre-left parties, but they're squabbling over small points, which I think, puts a lot of people off when there's so much more on social policies that they could agree and make progress. But again, I've just got to say there that there are other parts with the SNP which I disagree with, because I think a vision for a better Scotland includes decentralising, putting more power to councils, more power to local communities. And what we've had from the SNP is centralisation. The police and fire services, courts, taking facilities away from local democracy, which I think very much is wrong. And the economic policy, again, is still, at the end of the day, a neoliberal one, especially in relationship to this idea that we're going to get businesses in if we reduce corporation tax, which is really a race to the bottom. And they've never said where they would find the amount of money to reduce it. And who are we going to attract in? I noticed that last year, Alec Salmond opened the Amazon factory in Fife, the largest one I think they've got in the United Kingdom. Look at Amazon's record. Again, they don't employ anybody directly. They do it all through agencies, 0 contracts, minimum wage. You heard all the stories about people actually getting 20 seconds, to do different jobs and that. But who opened that factory? Alec opened that factory. And I think, really, at the end of the day, the SNP have got to think about whose side they're on and what kind of jobs and industry we want to create. Now, I say, emphasise what Elaine has said there, that this is not about what party you're supporting, but it's about the future of Scotland for you and your families. I just want to finish, because I was talking about Jimmy Reid and about that vision of what we want to do. And Jimmy, in his famous speech, installation speech as rector at Glasgow University, after, just during the UCS working, he made a couple of quotes which I think sum up what a lot of people have said here tonight. To the students, I address this appeal. Reject these attitudes. Reject the values and false morality that underlies these attitudes. A rat race is for rats. We're not rats. We're human beings. Reject the insidious pressures in society that would blunt your critical faculties to all that is happening around you, that would caution silence in the face of injustice, lest you jeopardize your chances of promotion and self-advancement. This is how it starts, and before you know where you are, you're a fully paid up member of the Rat Pack. The price is too high. It entails the loss of your dignity and human spirit. Or as Christ put it, what doth it profit a man if he gains the whole world and suffer the loss of his soul? So I'm quoting the deities in our favour. And I'll just finish, because this week is Burns' anniversary, and Jimmy finished with a quotation for Burns, and I'll finish with that as well. The golden age will then revive. Each man shall be a brother. In harmony we all shall live and till the earth together. In virtue trained, enlightened youth shall move each fellow creature, and time shall surely prove the truth that man is good by nature.
Thank you very much, Bob. I believe I'm sure there are many people who have criticisms of the SNP or Alec or whatever that's going on. I have myself actually said to Alec at one point, "It's all right, I'm agreeing with you now. Wait till I'm in the barricades at the other side of the road." And he said, "I am looking forward to that." But I would say, I think for the left particularly, we have to be aware. I mean, I'm a Republican. I don't want monarchy. I'm a socialist. I'm of the left. But see, if we vote no, we've got the Queen. See, if we vote no, we've got Trident and the Clyde, and no conversation about it, no debate. If we do not have a yes vote in the referendum, none of these things that we feel will make any difference whatsoever, because there is nobody out there to campaign for us. And these are arguments that happen in Norway and Denmark and Sweden and every democracy across Europe, Western civilization. There are arguments between the left, the right. We have to be able to do it, but there is no room for us to do it if we do not have the power to make those decisions. And that we must not lose. If we get into a point, I've had various arguments with pals of mine on the left who won't make up their mind or are saying no because, oh, well, they're not getting rid of the Queen. Get over it. It's bigger than that. It's a bigger idea than that. And we have to pursue, as Bob says, the idea. Imagine the Scotland we want to live in, because if we don't, we have no choice whatsoever but to go down the route of the rest of the UK. So, with that, I think we've got to swap speakers now, haven't we? You can stay here, but we're going to bring in the next contestants. And we'll have a wee vote at the end. We'll do it like X Factor at the end, right? Okay. Could I say, give a big round of applause for the speakers I've had so far? There you are. Woo! And you'll come back. You come back at the end. You see. See.